Well, I'm at it again. More van stuff. Figured I may as well try and get this body work done with because, middle of February. Come April, I'll be out every weekend this thing. I'm not going to have time to take it apart then, so there's a couple of things I had to deal with here. One is that, like, we have bare wires and butt connectors, which they're actually pretty good quality butt connectors, and the guy did somewhat of a decent job there, but I still want to get rid of them. I'm going to solder them and make sure all the wiring is not green, and then shrink wrap everything. So, and then there's this. It's that was the bottom of it. And you know what happens if you leave that be, then it ends up crawling up the front of the door, and the front of the door is not too bad. There's a little tiny bit there, surface rust coming out, so I'm going to take the paint off and spray it with some what do they call that, rust converter. I'm not real familiar with this stuff. Not a body man, so I found well, I got two different types. I have this rust fix. I don't know. Turns the rust black basically, and then you're supposed to be able to paint it, And then I have the rust converter, which is supposed to be pretty good stuff. And I did that to the bottom of the van on the other side there, where I changed that quarter panel. And then finally found some of this stuff, the copper weld through primer. Spots that you want to put something on it, because you're not going to be able to get to it to paint it, like the inside of a door, for instance. And even though I am gonna spray it with this stuff here, rust inhibitor. I guess it's kind of like an undercoating almost. And I was actually able to find, I went online because there are spots inside those rockers and stuff that you can't reach. And I'd like to be able to put something right in there. And what did I do with that? These right here. I found this on Amazon. And you guys might have seen these already. But they're hoses with little like nozzles that have holes on the sides of them. These little brass things. They've got holes on the sides, so when you put the hose in through a small hole, it sprays kind of like all around, rather than a straight line. Because if you're going in this plug, for instance, I mean, it's going to be hard to reach this surface or this corner. So with that there, you just kind of drag it around inside, and you're just going to coat everything, which is, I think that's probably going to work pretty good. So, and finally, I get to use my door seals that I bought 2 years ago, but I didn't want to put them on there and then have to take them off to do the repairs on the door. There's a little bit of surface rust there too, which I'll throw some of that converter onto. So anyways, yeah, so now's the time to do it. So I've got this, I would rather use something a bit heavier than this leftover piece of rocker panel, but the darn thing fit in there so perfectly that I can't not use it. And I'll just butter it with the juice there, and it should stay together for some time. And when the thing rots out again, I'll cut it out and I'll do it again. I mean, half a day's work. I'm quite happy doing that to keep this thing going. So, well, it's not a how-to video, guys, but I'm just keeping you in the loop on what I'm doing to the van. And some of you guys are interested in watching this. Some of you guys just want to see the camping stuff. And then some of you guys don't want to watch any of it. That's all right. The one thing you guys should do when you're changing these body panels, they come with like a primer on them, which is kind of, I don't think it's very good quality primer. I'm not a body guy, but from what I read, it's not the best stuff. It's always easier to take the primer or the paint off of something before you put it in that awkward spot to work in. So I'm taking the paint off with a cookie here, a paint stripper. Don't use a grinding disc or even a flap disc like these. It's tempting because it goes really fast, but it goes through that metal very fast too. So use one of these and it takes the paint off real nice. And then I'm going to spray it with that weldable primer stuff there, wherever it is, on the inside. And the outside, once it's all on there, I'll be able to grind it up a little bit. You know, there's no point putting primer on it because I'm going to have to grind it off. The inside I can't get to, so then, I don't know, I may attempt to spray some paint in through that little hole I showed you, the oil spray hole, and try to get something on it. Maybe there'll be primer on it already, except for where the welds, are burning through the original door steel. But if I spray a bit of paint in that hole, there'll be some coverage with paint, and once that dries, then I'll hit it with that undercoating oil spray stuff to give it another layer of protection. You don't see this from the outside of the van, and nobody's laying on the ground to look at it, so it doesn't have to be perfect, in my opinion. The front side that's visible is what I'm going to take more time on. In here, I'm going to clean it, somewhat, but it's not going to be perfect. I don't care about that. I just don't want the door rotting away. It's more of a prevention for the rest of the door. The other thing on the list today is the awning brackets that Darby broke. Sometimes he gets a little bit violent, and that's what happened here. So it's okay, Darby. I don't mind coming into work on Saturday to fix stuff that you break. No problem. I'm just kidding, big guy. It wasn't your fault, I know. So I made these were aluminum, and I didn't do a very good job making them, obviously, because it broke right at the weld. And I think I kind of made those kind of quickly, I think technically it was a trial run to see if these brackets are going to work, and then if it works, it becomes permanent. So that's what happened there. I ended up making some steel ones, which I was trying to avoid for because of it'll rust eventually, but I put a bunch of paint on there, and they're made out of 1/8 steel for a reason. I don't want them too heavy, because next time, rather than breaking these off, I'd rather these bend and not break the aluminum that's on the awning. So it's kind of like a, weak point, I guess. And maybe bend, that way it gives me enough time to realize, whoa, slow down, and let's do this properly. But a couple of things to do, so we'll get her done. That primer's kind of cool. Gold. Nice gold finish. Dries fast too. It's 15 minutes and it's completely dry. So I'm gonna clean up a little bit more here. Make sure I can get through. Actually, you know what? I should be spraying that. No. I'll spray it with the rust prevention stuff after. slowly pushing it into place, making room for it, and sort of shaping it, because that light piece of tin there is pretty flexible. You can see how there's a little bit of rust left down there, and it's not really wanting to weld to it, but we'll make it work. I mean, there could be seam sealer there, and as long as it's not rusted away, then that's fine by me. Well, that was no fun, to be honest with you. Not very pretty either. Yeah, the inner skin is pretty well toast, so there's nothing left to weld to. So it's like a bit of a popcorn weld there, you know, when you're welding into some rust. So at this point, what I think I'm going to do is treat it for that rust inhibitor or whatever, and then sand off the other side of the door a bit and just try to buy some time out of it. But I think what's going to happen is I'm going to end up changing the bottom of this door. Probably not this year, but next winter. This will keep it together for definitely for the summer. So I got the other side all done, or as close to done as possible. So I took off as much of the rust as I possibly can, within reason. The face here had a couple of spots, so I figured I'd get it before it gets too bad. I don't have a lot of bodywork tools, so I'm doing this by hand. This is not something I like to do, and seldom, I don't do very much of this at all. I think Dalton from Pole Barn Garage would be proud of me there. Just kind of a hack job. But I'm just going to prime a few inches on the bottom of the door. I'm getting color matched, like I said before, very soon. Once I get all the welding and all that stuff done, then I'm going to get into doing a bit of body work. But right now I'm doing, you know, some preventative stuff. So that looks pretty good. I feathered it in a bit here so I can blend the two. And then the bottom is not pretty, but there's spots where it's still pretty rusty. And not a lot of meat to weld into, so I did what I could, and I'm going to seam seal it, and like I said, it'll be alright. It'll buy me some time, so we'll get some primer on there. And a bit of primer on the top, and I did the rust converter on the bottom. Apparently got some primer on it, but we'll see what happens. Well, I got the door drying here, so there's not much I can do about that. I'm gonna let that dry and give it a scuff and I'll put some of that gray paint that I have. It's not a perfect match, but like I say, it's just to get something on there till I get the color match made up, and then we'll put give it a quick sand and match it a little better. So I'm getting some of this wiring done here. There's some of it's a bit rotten, so I'm shortening up the wires and soldering it all. And I guess we'll rewrap it in some fresh tape. It's pretty crunchy, this stuff. But you know, for an 86, you gotta expect this kind of stuff. So it's all part of having an old vehicle. It'll definitely be better with the solder opposed to those butt connectors. I never liked butt connectors. I mean, they're okay for side of the road bailout, but although these ones they're good quality ones, this must have been done a long time ago, because you're not getting butt connectors like that anymore. They're hard and they're solid, and they were crimped on properly. So, you know, definitely could have been worse, but the wiring is starting to crack and pull out of there, so it's time to do something about it. So, tedious little jobs, eh? There we go. nicely resoldered. Unfortunately, I don't have the rubber boot that's supposed to be in there to hold these wires. The last guy must have chucked it. But I'll wrap them with tape and maybe put a big piece of loom or something in between for now. Better than what it was. Well, it's 2 days later. Well, it's Monday. I started this Friday. I was in here yesterday, and to put a coat of paint on there, and the paint reacted to the primer, I guess. Like, I'm no painter, right? So I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I primed it with like a trim clad spray bomb primer. Fuck. Guess I taped too high. I still got a little bit of primer showing there. I'll give it a little shot before I put it outside. So yeah, the paint reacted to the primer, so I had to sand it off and spray it again. Except this time there's no prime rendered because all I had was the stuff that it was reacting to. But again, like I was saying before, it's only to put something on it for the time being until I get the color match, because I'm gonna do a proper job on the paint. Yeah, I missed some of it here too. Oh well. Anyways, it's way better. Probably can't even see that, it's so dark. The only thing you see here is there's a little bit of seam sealer, because there was some there to begin with, where they fold the door around. So I put some seam sealer, and I put new seals on there. I still have to wire that, and I put so I just put a piece of loom in there for the time being. Anyways, I missed a spot there. Stupid lighting, eh? So I'm going to throw that rubber in there, and then just give it a little extra shot of paint there, just to cover that spot, that line that you see right there. Good enough until we sand the whole bottom. I think the plan is to go about to this line here, and if I can't get a pretty close color match, I'm going to tape the whole van there and just have it cut almost on purpose, like a two-tone. Don't really have a choice, right, if you can't match it. I don't want to paint the whole van. I kind of like the original paint that's, you know, not perfect. So, all right, I got to put this back together and get this thing out of here so I can go to work. I came in a bit early this morning so I could get it out of here before we start, you know, making some money. So, another van video. I don't know if some of you guys like these. A lot more of you like the camping videos. I get it, but there's got to be some repairs in order to be able to keep this thing moving. So that's on the agenda next, that spot right there. That one. There's that one. And one more rocker panel to do. That one there. So, and once that's done, we're going to spray the bottom of that. Call it good. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not. And we'll see you on the next one.